If you want to get script requests like this, then you need to have an awesome query letter and an even better logline. We're going to go really deep into Loglines and make it punch. You only can write one sentence and encapsulate the entire movie, so get creative. And of course, I have the outline for you in the description. You can just grab that for yourself. Let's get into it. I've sent query letters to hundreds of producers, and I get a pretty good open rate and an even better script request rate. I've been working in the film and television industry for 20 years in front and behind the camera. I also ran a production company in Toronto, and I can tell you what works and what doesn't. My writing partner and I think we cracked the code on how to write a perfect query letter. We tested it out with 10 emails and we got 8 script requests back. And these are from production companies that have unsolicited material clauses in there. So the thing I'm going to tell you about unsolicited material when they have that in their website, which it means is that you cannot just send anybody your script or pitch deck randomly, because it automatically goes into the trash, because they legally can't be liable if something happens that they make something that's similar to your project, because there are thousands of people sending out ideas, working with these producers. You're bound to have a similar idea. It's just how it goes. There's only so many stories that have been told. Everyone's going to have the same idea. That now they don't allow people to just willy-nilly send their scripts to them, because they could say, oh, the project that you're producing right now is similar to my script. I sent it to you. But they didn't sign any clause. They didn't sign any agreement. So that means that they unsolicited sent it to you, which means it automatically goes into the trash. And this is just how things are. What you can do is send a query letter with your logline, your background in the industry, and asking them if this is something that they would like to be sent. And then they'll know if you want to book a meeting. Now, in order for any of this to work, you have to first have a great script. And if you don't know if you have a great script, I have a screenplay checklist you can get for free in the link below. Second of all, you have to know if your logline works. And this is how you find out. And we're going to go really deep into Loglines, into really nailing down your logline and make it punch. So the first thing I ask people is, what is the reaction you get when you tell people about your logline? Do you get excitement? And I understand some people might have problem with facial cues. I know all too well about that. If you see people with their eyebrows raised, if they look intrigued, like it's interesting, and they will also verbally have a reaction too. It will follow up with a, oh, wow, or I'd love to see that. People, when they hear something exciting, you get a reaction from them. If you don't get any of that, if you get a lot of confusion, oh, or boredom, oh, not working. Got anything but pure excitement from people, then you need to work on your logline. Congratulations, if you get excitement from people, then you have a hit on your hand. You can just move on from this video and go on to the query letter. So the first thing I want you to look at on your logline, is there anything that's generic, that doesn't really explain anything? So a lot of times what I see is very common in loglines is someone says, there's this professor and something exciting happens. Well, what happens? Does an explosion happen? Do they meet the love of their life? These are variables that really make a difference in the story. And if you find any word in your logline that could be vague, I suggest you even go word by word in your logline and how further in specifics you can go. The story's written, right? You know the answer. So if you can tell me the exact specific thing that happens to your main character in the least amount of words possible, you want this to be one sentence. If it has to be 2 sentences, cool, because sometimes, like what we did for our show, we had a very generic log line, and that was by design, to have a very generic log line and then a little punch at the end to give it a twist. So that was an intentional second sentence to give it a punch up. So you want to aim for 1 sentence. And if you can't, do a second sentence that gives it a punch. And if you need inspiration, find your favorite movies and go see what their log lines are, or how you would create a log line. Find something that makes your story different, unique, exciting, interesting, that would make people want to go, oh my God, I need to see this. And if you have a twist at the end, like if you have a sixth sense, remember, you're not giving this log line or this query letter to an audience member, you're giving it to a producer, someone that's trying to sell this. So they need to know what the big twist at the end is in order to see that this is going to be a success. So if you have a little twist in the end that makes the movie, like The Sixth Sense, the only thing that really makes The Sixth Sense so fantastic is the ending, is the big twist at the end. So there's number one. Find the generic and make it specific. Now we're going to move on to number two. Who is your character? Because we are following your character, not the story. Your character drives the story. So we need to know who our protagonist is and why them and how they're connected to the story. So for instance, Breaking Bad, it's very simple. A high school chemistry teacher sells meth to pay for his cancer treatment. That, boom. You can't just say some dude turns to selling meth to sell for his cancer treatment. Okay, but the interesting part, and that's the part where I'm talking about with the character is what drives the story. So we need to know who the character is and how perfect they are for the story. If you're selling meth, you need to understand chemistry. You could be a chemistry scientist, but what makes it even more interesting is you are a high school chemistry teacher. It makes it extra sad in a weird way. Someone who works with children is now selling meth. So you can just fill in the blanks of so many scenarios as opposed to someone who just works at a lab, you know? So you have to find the most perfect character for your story to build the best possible scenario. And the best way you can do that is write the log line. And I always suggest writing the log line before you even start writing the story. So you want to know who this person is, what makes them interesting. And it's just a very short description. The name, an adjective that describes them, and their journey. So I don't know what your story is. You might want to include the profession if it's vital to the story. If it's a bio, obviously put in the name of the person. You don't necessarily need to have the name. There are some people that are real sticklers about never using the name. I don't think it matters. I've had log lines that had the name in it and it got the same result. I had log lines that didn't have the name in it, got the same result. So you want to keep it tied to your protagonist. You don't want to have a generic story. It has to be revolving your protagonist. Unless it goes to number three. Do you need a question in your logline? What if scenario? Is it imagine scenario? What if this happened? Well, this happened. Imagine a world or imagine this. And the other one could be super cheeky. Depends if you have a comedy. It could just be a really funny scenario and you can see it play out like 40-Year-Old Virgin. The title is self-explanatory, which leads me to number four. Your title helps sell the logline. Once again, we're back to 40-Year-Old Virgin. The title and the logline are kind of one and the same. So if you have a really cool title that kind of matches your logline, it's gold. Your title really makes a difference between a winner and a loser in a producer's eyes. You want that producer to light up when you tell them about your story. And the whole point of this is to have fun with it. If you're writing a thriller, you want it to be super suspenseful. Whatever genre it's in, find a really fun, creative way to portray the spookiness in your horror film in the logline, which leads me to number 5. Does your logline create curiosity? There is a fine line between curiosity and confusion. Confusion shuts it down. Curiosity keeps it going. When people are confused, you lose them. They're just like, I don't get it. And that immediately makes them think this is boring. If you get them curious, they need to know more. They need to know, oh my God, where does that go? Especially if it's a thriller or it's a mystery movie. You want to create a lot of intrigue and make people beg for your script. And that can usually lead to the dilemma that your main character has. Which leads me to number 6. What is the moral dilemma that your main character is facing right now? So you start the logline talking about your main character's journey, but you also have to end with what the hell are they going to do? The protagonist has this random thing happen, and the antagonist is trying to do this, and then they need to figure this thing out. You have to find a way to encompass that in a very easy flow. There's an easy formula to do this. Have your protagonist with that description adjective, like an ordinary person and something random happens, name something that happens that drives the story. And then the third one is kind of the theme. What lesson do they have to learn to get what they want? How are they going to save their daughter from these kidnappers without getting killed? If you find yourself getting too swept up in the details, write out the synopsis. If you need ChatGPT to help you narrow it down, go forth, my child, fine. But I suggest if you just find yourself just getting so caught up in the words and the description because it's your baby, you think every single word, every little detail matters. You have to see it in the eyes of a producer of how am I going to sell this? You have to see it as a product. How would you pitch this product to somebody? Which leads to number 7, get to the point. Because if you can find a punchy, short thing that is very much to the point, that is what's important. Super fast, just like and subscribe to the channel so you can learn more about the marketing sides of the film and television industry to help you get more autonomy over your career. This is my goal for this channel, is to give you as much information as I possibly can about how you can take control over your career. And thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to watch this and to learn. I hope this can contribute in any way possible for your screenwriting journey. People just want something that's different and fun. So have fun.